everyone, I hope you all are doing well. This side Priya Bhatia, and in this specific video, we will be starting our journey. Where first of all, we will talk about artificial neural network. I will give you a gist of that, followed by the types of different neural networks that we have. Right, there are multiple categories of neural network. Obviously, this video will be a gist of that, but obviously, in the upcoming sessions, you will observe that one by one, I will be covering up all of the different types in a lot more detail. So please try to watch this video till the very end so that you will get an idea that what are the different types of neural networks we have. I will try to talk about the real-time practical applications where those neural networks are being used so that it would be very easy for you to relate the concepts and it will be very easy for you to understand the concepts. And then maybe in the upcoming session, we will discuss with the mathematical intuition behind each and every neural network step by step. So with this, let's get started. I hope that you already have watched my previous video where we have discussed the history of deep learning, right? We have seen that there were a lot of challenges which uh, as the researchers have faced when these concepts of deep learning were introduced. And Rosenblatt was the researcher who introduced the concepts of perceptron as the very first point. Yes, after some point of time, there was a low point of perceptron where they have analyzed an issue. Uh, I think in the last video, I have talked about that as well. But in this specific video, we will discuss with respect to the starting point where this concepts of neural network comes into picture, from where the researchers got that idea. So you can see from this diagram that this is not something which is beyond the scope. It's like our normal human brain, how it works. Similar to that, they have tried to create a very simple first architecture that comes into a picture called as perceptron, right? So that is the very first type of, I would say, artificial neural network, which we called it as a feed forward neural network. This was the very first type, I would say, which comes into picture in the history of deep learning, right? Feed forward neural network. Neural network. So basically, if you can see, we have dendrites, we have nucleus in between, we have axon, and all the transmissions. This is the final layer where the results or where the actions usually happen. In neurons, right? They are passing the neurons, right? So similar to that, this is something which is a human being, I would say, architecture. Similar to that, they have designed the neural network architecture where they have passed as a dendrites input layer. Then we have some linear function. I think in the last session I have talked about what is this linear function is. So basically what this linear function will do, it will try to combine the weights and the input values, multiply together and do the summation of them. So what will happen is it will try to take the summation of xi, wi, where I belongs to the value of 1 to n, plus whatever be the value of bias we have, b into x0, the value of x0 is equals to 1, and this is the equation which we will be able to get as the value of z. And this is something which we are calling it as a linear function, which makes sense as well, right? Because this is a linear line, this is a linear function. That is why we are saying z is equals to summation of x of I, w of I plus p. Now, what will happen is on top of that, we will be having something called as activation function. I hope everyone can see over my screen. So what is happening is that this z is a very bigger value, right? It can be some big number. I hope that if you are from machine learning background, you must be aware of the concept of something called as normalization and standardization of the values. I think as a part of EDA, we usually apply the practice of, having all the column values within one specific range. And in ML terms, we have two techniques to do that. One is with the help of min-max scalar, and another one is with the help of, I would say, standard scalar form. Standard scalar, right? So we have two techniques which is basically helping us to convert the values within one specific range. So what I'm trying to convey over here is that whenever we are trying to work with the neural networks, the similar thing that we want the values to be in some specific range, right? We will have to apply the activation function. So what activation function will do, I will talk about this in a separate video in a lot more detail. But for now, you can understand that it will try to standardize the values in such a way that at the very end, let's say if it's a classification problem, we will be able to get the answer as either 0 or 1. I don't want the bigger numbers. I don't want any specific values. I just want the exact result. If it's a regression problem, then maybe I want the continuous value, right, within some specific range. So that is the very first type of a neural network, which comes from the idea of our own architecture of human being, right? So this is the very first idea. I hope it is pretty much clear to everyone. Now, what happens over here? For example, let's say I will be having I'll take one simple example, and with the help of which I'll try to explain you this thing. Let's say I will be having one specific entity as CGPA, another specific entity as maybe I would say the score of a person, let's say, right? So let's say I want to evaluate that whether that person will be able to achieve the placement or not. So let's assume that I am doing a classification task. By the way, this simple architecture, which I'm talking about as the very first architecture in the history of deep learning, which is feed-forward neural network, it is specifically being used for the simpler tasks only, which is the classification and regression task. For the complex task, this architecture usually gets failed. I'll tell you the reason behind that as well. But for now, let's say we are working with one problem statement, and that problem statement is that I want to decide that whether the student will get placed or not, whether it will be the answer as 1 or 0. That is the problem statement. Now I have, let's say, two features. Feature F1 is the CGPA of that student. Feature F2 is, let's say, the score of that student. And then I will be having the third specific thing, which I am calling it as a bias. Now this bias is something which will be used to generalize the model pretty well, right? It is basically to avoid, you can say, the exact result part, overfitting part, right? If you are from ML background, I think you will be able to correlate in a much better sense. So what is happening over here is that we will be having the weights. So obviously this is B, the value is, let's say, 1. This is input value is x1 and input value is x2. Here we will be having w1, w2. So what will happen over here in this summation layer, it will try to give us the equation as w1 x1 plus w2 x2 plus b, right? This is the kind of equation which we will be able to get. Then maybe we are applying any sort of a activation function, which is basically helping me to get the result as either 0 or 1, right? So the value of z will be this specific thing. And let's assume that we are saying if the value of z will be more than equal to 0, in that case, I will classify the data as 1. If the value of z is less than 0, I will classify the entities as 0. So this is the assumption. This is the kind of a, I would say, activation function, which is basically trying to map the value which I'm getting from the z value as either 1 or 0. Either the person will get placed or the person won't get placed. That's the whole idea of this complete neural network architecture. I hope it is clear to everyone, right? So that is the whole idea. So we will be able to get either the answer as 1 or the answer as 0. Now, maybe you will apply the value of x1 is, let's say, the CGPA is 5.9 and the score, let's say, the candidate is getting out of 100 is maybe 69, right? In this kind of sense, I think we always get a positive value. So maybe we need to change the activation function accordingly to some limit. There will be some threshold which we have to define, by which we can say that either the person will get placed or not. That is something which we will look in the upcoming stage, because there are multiple activation functions that we have, right? So we will be able to get the answer, and let's say the answer, with the help of this answer, we will be able to get the result that the person will get placed. The issue with this kind of neural network is that here it just supports the linear functions. But as soon as we will be able to get the entities which is of non-linear dimensions, for example, let's say in this specific problem, maybe we will be having two entities. One is that a student will get placed. Another entity is that a student won't get placed. Maybe for now, this is the line which we will be able to generate between the two classes, the person who is not placed, the person who is placed, yes and no, right? That is the whole thing that we are trying to do over here. So this will be yes and this will be no. Makes sense? Depending upon the two features that we have. But if let's say I will be having some non-linear function, so in this case though, applying a feed-forward neural network is also fine. But if let's say we will be having some entity where we will be having this kind of a network where non-linear functions are there, right? Let's say this is one class and this is another class. So obviously in this specific scenario, we cannot create any straight line, linear function line to divide my data points into two parts. And that is the major thing which is an issue over here. And that is where another different type of neural network will be created. So now what is that? The second important type of neural network to grab other important unique features is what we called as convolutional neural network. Again, I had a talk about this in the previous session while discussing the history, right? Convolutional neural network. So in these specific instances, when we are talking about CNN, it is being specifically used whenever we will be having something called as grid-like data. Always remember. For example, if I will be talking about the image data or images, if you will be able to observe, image is a two-dimensional, three-dimensional data containing a matrices. So all the images will be stored in the form of a pixel value in the matrix form, and that is where the concept of CNN or convolutional neural network comes into picture, right? So that is the whole idea. We will talk about this CNN also in a lot more detail in the upcoming sessions within a separate module. If you will be able to see the real-time applications of this, nowadays, if let's say a CT scan is given in the healthcare patient data set, right? We have a CT scan. So it's quite easy by a machine itself to diagnose that, okay, this is the cancerous cell, right? This process is what we call as image segmentation. So this process is something which we called as image segmentation. We usually try to train our model in such a way that we have multiple images and the labeled data as well, and we try to train our model so that if at the time of prediction I will pass any of the CT scan, it will be automatically able to give me the prediction that this CT scan contains a cancerous cells or not, and if yes, where is the exact position for the same. So what it will do is it will try to make it a yellow color, and then you will be able to get an idea that, okay, this is a CT scan which contains the cancerous cells. So that is the whole idea about this process of image segmentation, very widely used application. Even you can refer my research paper also, which I have published at the time of doing the research at IIT Hyderabad. So at that point of time also, the major task was image segmentation, but in a COVID specific patient's data, because at that point of time when I was doing the research, it was the COVID time, and that particular disease was at peak, and I was provided with the data set which contains the CT scans of the patients, actual patients, I would say. So all of the things I have applied UNet. UNet is a architecture which is a convolutional neural network based architecture. Then there is another architecture called as SegCaps or capsule networks. It is a known CNN based architectures that also I have used in my research paper. You can just check and refer it. But at any point of time, what I'm trying to convey over here is that whenever our data points will become complex, for example, this grid like data is not something which is a easy data. Images are a complex data points, right? So at that point of time, CNN plays a very crucial role. No machine learning model, no simpler neural networks will be able to give you the result which CNN will give you. It's so powerful. That's the beauty about this architecture. After CNN, you will observe that the next architecture, which becomes quite famous, is the RNN, which is nothing but recurrent neural networks. All of them are the types, right? You can see in all of the neural networks. At the very end, I'm using this name neural network. First one is feed forward. It was very simple. In the initial days, it was designed specifically being helpful for a linear function. Then obviously for non-linear based data, we have a different types of activation functions, which basically handles this specific problem, which we will discuss in the upcoming class. But this is something which initially the perceptron faced, and that is where I told you the XOR problem, if you remember in the last session as well. And that is where the core idea of types of activation functions comes into picture, where we have a non-linear activation functions as well, which I will talk about in the upcoming sessions, that how basically we can get rid of this problem. After that, we have second type, which I have talked about for now, convolutional neural network, which is basically being used whenever we will be having a complex data entries. Complex data entries. Specifically at any stage, if you have a grid-like data where you will be having the images, it can be a grayscale image, it can be a RGB based image, how basically CNN will be able to apply the filters and will be able to give us the results. That's another beauty about deep learning. And I have given you one practical real-time application where I have personally worked in the research, and you will find it a lot more amazing, right? After that, the third interesting type is recurrent neural network. This is again a very interesting type. Nowadays, I think you must be aware about different kinds of, I would say, architectures which are basically helping us to generate new textual data. Somehow, the base is this RNN only. So basically what this RNN says, recurrent. So by the name itself, I think it is giving us the idea. So somehow this neural network comes up with one capability, which is to store the previous inputs or outputs as well. So what happens in CNN? In CNN, it doesn't have any memory. CNN doesn't have any memory, any its own memory. For example, if let's say you have trained thousands of images, once you have trained it, if you will ask from CNN what was the first image, CNN doesn't know. It just trained, filter out some important interesting points for you. You got that, you got the accuracy, that's it. But if let's say you want to see the previous results, what was the previous output which you were getting, you want to store that. So it has its own memory, right? That is where the interesting concepts of, I would say, recurrent neural networks applications comes into picture. You must have heard of something called as LSTM, long short term memory, GRUs. All of these are, I would say, the types of recurrent neural network where we will be having the encoder decoder type of architectures. So this is something which is quite interesting, specifically be helpful in all the kind of data points where we will be having a sequential data. For example, if let's say you are working with any time series data, right? At that point of time, this kind of, I would say, architectures plays a very interesting role, right? Even if you will see the somehow internals behind the state of the art algorithms like transformers and BERT, this is the base. RNN is the base without which you won't be able to understand those architectures as well internally, right? So I'll include these two things also. Maybe in the future we will discuss about this transformers, BERT. And this transformer is the base of today we can see Chat GPT and many more open source architecture where we will be able to generate the data automatically. Google Translation, right, is happening. It's a very interesting application. Nowadays, it's quite matured. All of these things are coming from the base is this RNN. From there, everything comes up, right? The next interesting type of a neural network, which we have nowadays, is GANs. Again, a very, very interesting type. It is called as generative adversarial networks. Adversarial networks. Again, by the name itself, you will be able to get an idea of this as well. Basically, here we are trying to generate the synthetic data, right? In such a way, I will talk about the complete architecture of GANs as well in the upcoming sessions. I will try to dedicate a separate video for all of them. But today is the video which is talking about a gist of every different type of architecture. So basically, here we are having some sort of architecture where we will be having a discriminator, generator. Discriminator task is to classify the entities as yes or no, and whatever the synthetic data my model is generating, we will wait in the training till the point where my discriminator will not able to discriminate the synthetic data with the original data. That is how basically you will observe there are lot many applications in the real time. You must have seen on the web that there are so many personalities, so many images which are not real personalities, which are not real human beings, but my model will be easily able to generate that, and we feel as a human being that it's a original one. Nowadays, we have so many. You would see applications where, if let's say you will pass the image of mother and father, and you want to see that how their child will look like, automatically this GAN application will be able to tell to you, right? There are many other stuffs as well. I'm just giving you few examples. If let's say you want to combine the two phases and you want to see that what is the next phase will look like, you will be easily able to achieve that point as well, even though that person is not existing for now. So that is the very interesting applications of GANs. Again, very, very interesting part. So basically, in a broader context, I'll not you know pass this transformers and BERT as a separate category. Basically, I would say these are the four important types of neural networks which we have to talk about. Feed forward. In the upcoming session, I will talk in a lot more detail, in a lot more mathematical aspect. I will showcase you one calculation as well, practical implementation also of the perceptron. After that, we will talk about in a lot more detail in this modules about CNN. After that, RNN. A lot more case studies we have to do in the RNN space as well. Specifically speaking, whenever we are dealing with textual data, or whenever you are working with any of the NLP based projects, it is quite interesting, all the architectures that we have. And at the very end, we have GANs. Again, it's a quite interesting topic. We will do each and everything with a mathematical intuition first, followed by the practical implementation, so that everything will be clear to everyone. But for now, I think this video must have provided you the insights of what is the meaning of a neural network and how many different types of neural networks we have to focus on for now. Uh, that is the whole idea about this video. I will see you all in the upcoming video where, as I already talked about, we will discuss about the very first neural network, which is the feed forward one. We will see the mathematical intuition behind the same by taking one numerical example. Maybe I can take this placement example only. I'll take some random inputs and then I will try to provide you the justification for the same. Then we will do the implementation side by side, so that it's not that we are lagging somewhere. We should be pro in terms of understanding the maths as well, plus doing the implementation also. So that's the whole idea. With this, I will see you all in the upcoming video. Bye bye everyone, and see ya.